Should you mine or should you buy? That's the question everyone's always asking. From peak prices down into the deep, dark, cold crypto winter. This question pops up all the time, so I thought I'd answer it. Mining. First off, when you buy a miner, you essentially get a machine that turns electricity into bitcoins. For this video, when I'm talking about mining, I'm going to be referencing Bitcoin mining, but you can mine all kinds of other coins as well, and these same thoughts will apply to it. With a miner, you are mining every day as long as you're paying the electric bill, and a certain number of bitcoins will go into your account. This means theoretically, even 100 years from now, that miner could still be pumping out crypto for your wallet. Another good thing about mining is that you are actually contributing to the safety of the network. In fact, you're literally being paid to help secure the network and process transactions on the network. If you like that specific network and you want to see other people using it, it's a very good thing that you simply won't get if you just buy Bitcoin. One great thing about mining that many people don't think about is, sure, you have the upfront cost of a miner, but when you want to get out of the mining business, you can also sell that miner. And if you're in a bull run, you might be even able to sell the miner for more than you bought it, because miner prices somewhat correlate to the crypto prices. Lastly, we have one of the best things about mining crypto. The coins that you mine are completely clean. That is, they don't have a transaction history behind them. And you don't have to worry about if you're dealing with sanctioned coins. Mined coins always have a clean transaction history. Now, let's go on to the bad side of mining. The first one is obvious, is that you'll have a monthly electricity bill, and it likely won't be too cheap. If you're running multiple miners, it'll be quite a bit. However, if you're mining profitably, you should be able to sell some of the mined Bitcoin to cover your costs. Along with electricity, you must also pay your internet bill, which isn't too much of a hassle unless you're mining in a place far away from an internet connection. Even with these costs though, if you operate your mining situation like a business, you'll actually be able to deduct the mining expenses as a write-off from your taxes. Meaning, you won't have to pay taxes on that specific portion of electricity or internet. And actually, depending on your tax bracket, this will save you a decent portion of money. For example, if you're in the 20% tax bracket and your electricity bill is $100, technically you only have to pay $80 for that electricity because you'll receive a refund for $20 of it. If you're in the highest tax bracket, you could save almost half of your electricity bill. Obviously, a constant bill to keep mining is not a good thing, and neither is the constant maintenance that these miners require. If your mining equipment is in a clean place, you may need to only clean it once per year. But these devices, these ASICs, usually have huge fans on them that get really dusty and dirty, so they definitely require more work than simply just buying crypto with an app. Another bad thing about mining is that there's usually a high upfront cost, and it takes a long time to get your original investment back from mining. Of course, you could always sell your equipment to recoup your costs, but it won't be as easy as selling on an app within a few clicks. If you're mining to make money, you're probably doing it for the long haul. Now, something that some people don't realize is that over time, your miner will technically make less and less money. This is because, assuming the price of Bitcoin stays the same, or even if it goes up, the amount of other people wanting to mine it should also increase, which then increases the total hash rate. Thus, your portion of mining will decrease, meaning less Bitcoins per day, also meaning less money for the same equipment each day. Even more so, the amount that Bitcoin pays you for mining every 4 years gets cut in half, which is a huge pay cut. Lastly, as time goes on, the equipment that we have to mine transactions becomes more efficient and faster, so it's not likely that your equipment will be profitable in the next 100 years because of how much greater our technology will be by then. So that seems to be a good overview of mining, but what about just buying crypto? Buying is pretty simple. The pros to it are that it's very easy to collect Bitcoin. I mean, on an app, you can literally push a couple buttons and place a $5,000 buy order. Along with this, there's no technical knowledge to buy crypto, like there is to set up and maintain miner equipment properly. You also have instant liquidity, meaning if you want to sell your Bitcoin, you can do that instantly. There's also way less hassle to buy crypto, and that seems to sum up our positive section. On our cons section, the largest downside is that compared to mining, the amount of Bitcoin you buy with your money will always stay the same. You can't stake it, and you can't grow it over time like you can whenever you're investing in mining equipment. With all of these thoughts in the back of our mind, it may seem like maybe mining is a no-brainer if you're willing to deal with the technical aspect and you're in it to collect Bitcoin for retirement. Or maybe if you just want no hassles, maybe buying seems to be a better option. But what does the math show? Does it match our theoretical pros and cons list? Let's take a look. Oh, and before we move into the Excel sheet, let me make something clear. If your goal is to accumulate Bitcoin or US dollars, then you should never mine at a loss. In other words, you should never mine when the electricity amount that you pay is more than the amount of the value of Bitcoin that you accumulate. This is because you would actually gain more Bitcoin by just buying it than spending the money on electricity to mine it. Even if you think Bitcoin will double, or triple, or 10x, you still would have made more money, a larger profit, with a larger portion of Bitcoin that you bought, as opposed to the smaller amount of Bitcoin that you mined. Maybe the math will make explaining this a little easier. Alright, let's dig right in. This spreadsheet at first glance is going to look really confusing. However, if you take a look here, these green spots are spots that you can actually change. For example, we've got the miner name, how many watts it takes to power it, how much money you've invested, and the price of Bitcoin, including some other stuff like the cost of your electricity per kilowatt hour, the tax rate that you are currently in, and even a price target for Bitcoin to change. And based on these inputs, you can learn how long you want to mine to see if it would have been a better outcome to either buy crypto or mine crypto. So in this case, in this example, I'm using Bitcoin. And you can see here I'm using a pretty common miner. This is called the S19J Pro. It takes 3,300 watts to power and it outputs around 104 terahashes. And you can see here, in this case, I am saying that this miner is costing $3,500 to buy initially. So what we're doing is we're comparing if it takes $3,500 to buy the miner. In this yellow spot here, you can see as time goes on, this is how much BTC you would have if you instead just spent that $3,500 and just bought Bitcoin. If you did buy Bitcoin whenever you invested and the price was $19,000, you can see you would have $3,500 of Bitcoin and you would have 0.184 BTC. Now, as time goes on, this does not change because you simply bought Bitcoin. The amount of Bitcoin that you have does not increase if you just buy it. It only increases if you're mining it. So this right here, this allows us to compare to the mining side to see if we would have been better just buying Bitcoin and holding it. Now, you can see down here with current calculations, you can also see how much crypto per day you're able to mine with this specific miner, how much money it costs per day to spend on electricity, the value of crypto that you are earning in dollar amounts, and then also the profit you're making. You can see in this specific case, we're actually losing $3 per day by mining this. So with our current inputs here, you can see we're mining about 0.011 Bitcoin per month. And that is roughly at the price of $19,000. That is around $209 per month of income. However, it's costing us $308 to provide the electricity for the miner. Now what this means is you can either take $308 and buy $209 of Bitcoin, or you could take $308 and buy $308 worth of Bitcoin. So in this case, it is not profitable. Even in the long term, you can see here we're just losing money as time goes on. As the years go on, we're just continuing to lose money if we just simply mine. These last two columns here, these are the most important. This is how much money you would earn mining compared to if you just bought crypto. So in this case, in the first month, if you lost $100 compared to if you still had $3,500 of Bitcoin, you can see it would be better for you simply to buy Bitcoin. Now, this isn't counting into the fact that technically you could sell your miner. We're only calculating the profits. So let's go in and change some of these numbers. You can see all the way down here to May of 2028, you still would have been better to buy crypto with the current conditions compared to mining it. In fact, there's a $15,000 difference between holding Bitcoin and mining Bitcoin. And that's because you would have earned $9,000 of Bitcoin, but you would have been spending 20 grand in 6 years to pay the electricity bill to mine that Bitcoin. So let's go up here and change some numbers. The first thing I'm going to say is maybe I have a competitive edge. Maybe I'm able to get electricity far cheaper. So let's go from 13 cents per kilowatt hour down to 0.02 per kilowatt hour, which is a really cheap rate. You can see we are still better to buy up until around November of 2024, which is a few years away. Then it switches into the positive and you are more beneficial to mine crypto as opposed to buying it. Although I will say in November of 2024, you're only $21 ahead. So I'm not sure if $21 is worth all the headache of keeping a miner clean, the heat it produces, the sound that it produces. So let's go back and let's edit some more inputs. Now I'm going to say that maybe I have a few other businesses and I'm in a specific tax range. For this video, I'm going to say that I am in the 30% tax range, which would be 0.3. And there you can see it even moved up, mining being more profitable a few more months. So now it becomes profitable in June of 2024. And even more so, it becomes more and more profitable the longer you mine. Now you can see here, I haven't mentioned this yet, these two red lines, this is when Bitcoin halves, which basically means what you earn per month gets cut in half for every month in the future. And then this second red line down here, technically, this would be another halving, which should be 2 halvings, so that would be divided by 4. So I actually had an error there, but I just fixed it. So just by having a competitive edge of cheap electricity and maybe some other businesses that you can write your electricity off on, we've already pushed mining to be more profitable than buying up until June of 2024. Now let's get into something else. Let's say that we expect Bitcoin to double. So 19,000 times 2 is 38,000. So let's say we get Bitcoin up to 38,000. What does that change it to? Even with Bitcoin doubling, it barely moved the dividing line of when it's better to mine versus buy. It moved up into May of 2024. Now let's just say Bitcoin goes crazy and we get it to 6 figures, so $100,000. You can see it becomes profitable to mine in April of 2024. But I will say after that, it becomes immensely more profitable each month that you mine. So if you want to make a copy of this spreadsheet and just mess around with some numbers of your own, you can go to whiteboardcrypto.com, enter your email, and you'll be able to get this absolutely free. So before I end this video, I'm actually going to say, what if we're in the best position? What if we own 100 of these miners? That would put our cash invested to $350,000. It would also take our watts from 3,300 to 330,000, and it would take our hash rate from 104 to 10,400. Now let's say because we're running a big mining operation, somehow we got free electricity. We are paying $0 for the electricity, maybe we've got a solar farm or something, but we figured it out. And let's say that Bitcoin stays the same price of 19,000, you can see even with the competitive edge of free electricity and being in a 30% tax bracket, that it's still better to buy crypto with that $350,000 all the way up until February of 2024. Now, let's say that Bitcoin goes back to $100,000. You can see this person who set up this miner is making a lot of money. They're making $110,000 per month. Now, even if it takes 3 years for Bitcoin to get there, that doesn't actually mean they're making $110,000 a month. It's just the Bitcoin that they mined in month 1 would have been worth $110,000 at the current price. So even with these amazing competitive advantages of 100 miners, free electricity, and a tax deduction of 30%, including the price of Bitcoin going to $100,000, it is still better to buy Bitcoin up until March of 2024. So the conclusion of this is that if you're wanting to get into mining crypto, you need to be in it for the long haul. Now, there is a very important thing that I did not add into this video, and this does not calculate an increase in hash rate over time. So as time goes on, there's going to be more and more people that join the mining pool. In other words, there's going to be more and more competitors, and the technology of whatever you bought is slowly going to degrade. In other words, there's going to be better and better technology out there for cheaper and cheaper prices. I might create another page here that calculates that, but I'll have to see enough people wanting that by entering their email below and signing up for this spreadsheet. Hopefully you found this video helpful, hopefully you've learned something, and most of all, I hope to see you in the next video.